It's 11:08 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and you're on Team Victoria and Mike, Victoria Loyd, and Mike
Yes.
Pollis. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
You bet. Gotcha.
Gotcha. Thanks. Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Yep. Yeah, Mike, you need to turn your camera on.
It's not working.
I'm still working on that, Greg.
Okay. All right.
It's been a couple of weeks and Microsoft still hasn't figured it out yet, but we'll get it going.
Oh, yeah. That's plenty of time.
Thank goodness it's a radio show and not a television show.
Well, it becomes a television show when we put it on YouTube.
But they can still hear us. That's a good
blank screen is much better looking than me anyway.
Yeah, it works out good this way.
Oh, come on. We had a Hollywood producer call and wanted to know who you were.
Oh, see, Mike, I told you. It's from Disney World.
Disney World.
Yeah, they want me to play like a villain or something, some animal probably.
I was Elvira one year, and it was really wonderful because when I was outside and I was in the yard, it was maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, and they go, "Oh my gosh, there's Elvira." And I said, "Oh, if a teenager says I'm Elvira, then you know I look like Elvira."
I'm surprised a teenager even knows who Elvira is.
Yeah, it was really funny because that was funny. That was a long time ago too. But so things are going good. I got to tell you my experience real quick. I went to go get my driver's license. So whoever's going looking for their driver's license, please get prepared for a renewal or even trying to get one. So I get there and I did make an appointment, thank God, because the line was around the corner. And even though I made an appointment, they were still 20 to 30 minutes behind. So then it took me over an hour. The lady was just fabulous. Her name was Cheryl, and she was just wonderful. And go to find out she's one of my neighbors in the neighborhood. And the interesting part about it was after a while, she goes, "Well, do you have your marriage license? Do you have your birth certificate? Do you have your social security card?" It amazed me, all the things they were asking for. And if you didn't have them, you'd have to come back. And I had everything.
Now, this is for
wait a
license
minute.
renewal.
For a license renewal, you need it?
Yes. Now think about this, Greg. I've lived here since 1977. 1977. And if I didn't produce those, now I did say to her, I do not have my social security card with me. So they had me sign an affidavit. And then I had to say, am I going to vote or not vote? And I said, but I am a voter. I'm already registered. They wanted to know if I wanted to get registered to vote also.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're not talking a first-time driver here. This is a regular renewal.
This is just a renewal. Now, the other thing I was saying to Mike, and I don't know, and if anybody else knows, please call in. And our number is 772-340-1590. That's 340-1590. Understand the new driver's license have like a little star in the corner. Do you have a star in yours?
Yeah.
Well, I heard that that's a tracking device, that they track everything that we do.
I don't know.
Well, they say it dings. Whatever we do, it dings. It gives them a ding where we are and what we're doing.
I think they would find my lifestyle very boring if they tracked me.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
I'm not going to the casinos or the strip clubs or anything like that.
Yeah, a couple trips to Publix, man. That's my highlight of the week.
Yeah, but I'll go to a casino. I told Mike I definitely would go to a casino. And it's kind of, I tell people when I have a bunch of dollars, we played this dice game called CLR, left, right, and in the cup, and you have to have dollar bills. And so I carry a lot of those if we play that little dice game, but I tell people that I go to a male strip club and they go, "Really?" I don't even know if there is one.
Everyone's overly concerned about Google tracking you and Facebook tracking you. And listen, if they want to track me, I find that they're going to have a lot of coffee to stay awake because it's not very interesting. I come in the office at 7 o'clock. I leave at 8 o'clock at night, and then I go home, eat dinner, and go to bed. It's not a very exciting life.
No. But, the interesting part about it, though, they do track you because, if I Google anything because I'm looking for something or trying to make something, all of a sudden I have the recipes. All of a sudden I have a dress that pops up. All of a sudden I have a top. And then they ask me a question, am I still looking for something? And that's kind of like kind of eerie, kind of scary.
Oh yeah. Well, Carol joined whatever this Publix website is, right?
Yes,
And
I'm on that also.
and every week we get some specials. This is what you have purchased in the last few weeks. And it's like, oh my goodness, and it may be BOGO on olive oil or something like that, or vegetables that we always buy. But it's amazing because they're obviously tracking you going from one aisle to the next.
I think they're trying to find out who's hoarding all the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's true. Now think about this. Years ago, when you're in your car, you could stop at a stop sign and get a kiss or something. Nowadays, they're watching everything that you do. You can't even have an affair or even kiss your own husband or boyfriend without having, there's no privacy anywhere.
That's so they can blackmail you down the road.
Yeah, that's true too. Hey, then they'll go to jail. I love people that try to blackmail people and then they end up getting really hurt. So it's amazing. So I heard on the news this morning that new construction and resales are coming down in value. What has everybody else heard?
Well, new construction, I see that construction material costs are coming down, and they're coming down considerably since the peak in March. I think I think we peaked out in March. We're back down to November and December's levels right now. Now the question is, are the builders really going to pass that savings along to the consumer? Because if a builder is capable of only building 100 houses, that's their maximum capacity, and they have 200 orders, what is their incentive to really pass those savings along to the consumer? Really, there isn't any. So I don't know if the consumers are going to see that or not.
Yeah. Well, that's what's very interesting. And it's like, I was watching CNBC last night, and they said that, the lumber futures were at a low point in the last year or so. But I mean, that all makes perfect sense because the state of Washington was locked down until just a couple of weeks ago, and nobody was able to cut lumber. So, I mean, that made perfect sense that it skyrocketed.
Yeah, but there's other contributing factors too. There's transport from the forest, from the harvesters, to the manufacturing plants that mill all the wood, and then they have to distribute it to the distribution points. So, it's slowly opening, and things will improve. My cost really is the cost of energy. The oil and fuel is going up, skyrocketing, and that does have a tremendous effect on everybody's expenses on everything.
Oh, sure. I mean, you start thinking about, they were also talking on the same news show about how airfares have gone up 14% in April, another 7% last month, and it's going to keep going up if they can't get their pilots back in the cockpit again.
I heard that on some of the airlines. Now, Mike, you just flew. How was your tickets?
It was very good. We had a christening to go to up in New Jersey, so we went up to visit family, and I did that Spirit run from West Palm Beach up right into Atlantic City. That's a great easy flight, boy. I'm not a big fan of Spirit, but it is such an easy flight. It's an easy airport to get in and out of in West Palm Beach. It's an easy airport up in Atlantic City, super easy. But it was somewhat normal besides wearing the mask on the airplane. They actually had beverage service. So if you wanted to have a beverage, you could certainly buy it.
Wow. I don't think I have ever flown Spirit before. But you hear that some of the computer problems the Southwest had, and now of course America has got a personnel problem that they just don't have ground staff. Their pilots apparently, because they had to furlough so many during COVID, that they have to be retrained on the new 737s. So, and that takes apparently 3 months.
Yeah,
well, it does take time.
Yeah, a good friend of mine's a commercial airline pilot, and he has to get recertified every time there's a change. and it could take several months to get certified on a new airplane. I don't know if it takes that long to get certified, recertified on the same airplane that you're already certified for. But they had a pilot shortage before all of COVID. There were a lot of like pilots can only fly for so many years, and then they're forced into retirement. They can go fly for other airlines, European airlines and whatnot, but U.S. airlines have a limitation on how long they can be in, and they had a shortfall before COVID, so it doesn't surprise me that that's a problem now.
Well, and a lot of the folks who were flying are boomers. So you're right. There's a lot of retired pilots. If they're not in the pipeline now, they're getting close to getting out.
Yeah, and there's fewer and fewer deals out there for tickets, for airline tickets. So you really have to shop around now. We are doing a vacation in a couple of weeks. We're going down to St. Thomas, then we're taking a ferry over to St. John. So they still have a lot of the COVID rules down there. So a lot of mask rules. You still have to get the test, and that's the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's not the British Virgin Islands.
But you don't have to have a shot or anything, right, Mike?
No, they don't have the vaccine passport. They don't, it doesn't eliminate you from required to getting a test. So even though I'm vaccinated, I don't have a problem with vaccinations. I still have to go get a COVID test, which is a little ridiculous in my opinion.
Well, hopefully it's the easy one that you don't have the stick up the nose.
No, I think they do the rapid one now, so you can get the results in 10 minutes and you're done. I don't know.
Well, the people that left here
the
people that left here from Canada, even though they got their shots here, okay, they all got shots here, their children and them, they had brought their dog. So when they went back, they had to have a COVID test when they flew in. Then they had to stay in a hotel there for 2 days. It cost them $2,500. But if they would have paid $5,000, they could have skipped the hotel stay.
Oh, come on. Oh.
I'm not kidding you. This is true. This is truth.
Was this recently?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was
to get
flying
into Canada.
Yeah. And that they were flying. Now it's just been a mess. It's just been absolutely a mess. And then they had to take the COVID test also when they flew in. So even if the COVID test was not positive, they still had to stay 2 nights in a hotel room. And they were not allowed to leave the hotel room.
That's a little
that's
extreme.
awful. But the border is closed. I mean, it's created such a mess in sports. The NHL finals has got a team from Montreal there that can't go back to Canada. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I think they're playing in Canada. I think they are. Aren't they playing in Canada the next time?
I think they are, but that's only because the Las Vegas team had to go through all the testing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because they won last night, Montreal, the hockey. He's talking hockey, right? He's talking the hockey.
Yep.
They won last night also. So we're looking forward to it. Lenny wears his shirt.
Oh yeah, Lenny's from Montreal.
Oh, really?
He was raised in Montreal since he was 1.5 years old. He's really from Dayton, Ohio, where he was born, but he definitely is for them. So last night I happened to I help and I try to watch also, but I fell asleep and I heard yay, and I'm like, oh my god, I jumped 3 feet high.
Okay, now does he have dual citizenship?
He does not. He could have, and his son, when he was born in Canada, and he could have had dual citizenship also, but he doesn't. He really should go back and have it. His son. For Lenny, it's not important, but it might be for his son.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, but you know what? Then you got to be careful, because then if you have dual citizenship, and then they require you to pay certain taxes, you just don't know anymore with this dual citizenship thing, what they're going to ask of you.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Yeah.
So much is
so. Yeah, to make it a little easier. So, Mike, what are you finding in the mortgage business? Is it slowed down any? Is it getting faster? What are you doing?
No, it's the same old story. I hate to be repetitive on the show, but I have a ton of people out there qualified and out there looking for properties. But the problem is, you're competing against so many other buyers out there. It's the inventory is still very low. It's kind of like a broken record every week lately, but that's really where the problem lies is inventory. There's
Well,
inventory.
I just set up an appointment for after 2 today, has had no offers. They had lowered the price. Do you like that? It's a
Wow.
property in Fort Pierce. It needs a lot of work, and that's what she likes to buy. And as soon as he said, fine. And then I get a text that they have an offer already, but she doesn't want to go. She's not going to get in a bidding war over it because it does need a lot of work.
Mhm.
And she said, if it falls through, let me know. So last night I get a call because I've been working with this client for 2 months. And he says, let's go look at this property in Torino. And that's when that storm was coming through also. So I met up with him about 5:40 last night. And thank God the storm had just passed through Torino. You could see all the leaves and trees and everything around there. I mean, they really got a bad storm. And so I met up with him and he says, okay, let's go for it. But then he thought about it for a minute, even though we've been looking for a couple of months. And he goes, but you know what? The roof is a 2006. You know how insurance is going to be with that. But it had this beautiful lagoon pool. Beautiful, beautiful. And it was a beautiful backyard. But there was some things you still had to do with the house. And the 2-car garage really couldn't fit 2 SUVs in it.
Right. Well,
But it was a nice house.
if you find a house that is just structurally not up to your standards, I mean, if it doesn't have the square footage, if it doesn't have the multiple car parking that you desire, that's a real hard thing to fix. But, if it's just cosmetic work, if it's just general maintenance, roofs and whatnot, we have mortgage programs out there that can accommodate those types of repairs. We have renovation loans where we can finance the renovations right into the mortgage. So if you wanted to put a new roof on or update the kitchen or update the bathrooms or even do small structural changes, maybe blow out a wall and make a family room bigger, we have programs that accommodate that. It becomes a little bit more difficult if you need to put a second story on or an addition. That's a little bit more of a challenge. It can be done, through different types of programs, but we have some great renovation programs. So don't let some minor repairs stop a transaction.
Yeah,
If
and I agree. Now, is the interest rate a little bit higher, Mike?
Yeah, and it's a little bit more costly of a loan to get into because it is a bit more risky for the lender to do. Because if we lend on this and all of a sudden something happens to the contractor, they can't finish the job for any particular reason. God forbid they get hit by a bus, they can't finish the job. Then we have to make sure that there's another contractor out there willing to take up the project and finish it, get it to the finish line. So it's a bit more risk for a lender, so they price it accordingly, but it's not crazy expensive. But it does give you the ability to transform a home that you might be okay with and make it your dream home.
Yeah, and I saw something on one of the listings the other day that said it was it was like a 203. Was it a 203?
Yeah, it's a two. Well, there's different types. You're mentioning a 203K, which is the
Yes.
FHA renovation type of loan.
Yes, it was an
Actually,
FHA 203K.
that's an amazing program too, because uh, you can use that program for a lot of different reasons. I recently just used that program when the appraisal on an FHA property came in a little bit low, because on the 203K renovation loan, it allows you to finance up to 110% of the appraised value of the property. So you still have to do your 3.5% down, but if the appraisal comes in a little bit lower, you can convert that into a 203K renovation loan. You can put some new countertops in, fresh coat of paint, and then call it a renovation loan, and you can still close on that.
Wow, that's great.
can you ask the seller to put a new roof on contingent on the sale of the house?
Well, it's hard to get the seller to do anything these days, Greg. It's definitely a seller's market out there, and if it's if you're asking the seller to do anything, they don't have to.
Okay.
It's to answer your question, yeah, you can do that if you have a willing seller, but it's highly unlikely in the market.
Yeah, but that's still something that you could do yourself after the fact, though, Greg, is you can get, like Mike says, that construction loan and then do it. So you
Yeah.
absolutely can. The only thing that's happening with the roofs that these insurance companies are giving us a hard time now with the roofs. They don't, if it's older, they're penalizing us a lot more, which is,
Yeah,
I think is a form of discrimination again. I think it's
we,
very unfair.
what's happening is once the roofs are over 16, 17 years old, a lot of the insurance companies are no longer interested in insuring them. And that seems to reason because of the amount of hurricanes we get here, the recent hailstorms we've been getting. It all causes a lot of insurance claims. So, but there are insurance companies out there that do it. And matter of fact, I'm in the middle of a transaction right now where this roof that we're on this property we're trying to finance is certainly at the end of its life. It's not leaking, but it's at the end of its life. The insurance on that was rather expensive. The customer was able to obtain insurance on it, but it was like $4,000 to insure this property. And we're not talking about a multi-million-dollar property. We're talking about a $300,000 property.
But they'll readjust that. Once he gets a new roof, they readjust it.
Yeah, and that's their plan. They're gonna put minimum amount down. We're gonna do 95% financing on that property. I'm sorry, you know what? That was actually a VA transaction. They didn't put any down payment on that property.
Perfect.
And they're gonna keep their cash and then put the roof on and do the other renovations out of pocket. So there's still great finance, especially if you're a veteran. 100% financing, and it was a great interest rate too, well into the twos. And 100% financing with no money out of pocket. They do have to pay closing costs, but so it wasn't exactly 100%, but no down payment requirement. Amazing program.
So
Yeah, I
what
think
what would the closing cost be on something like that?
On that price range, you're probably looking in the $6,000 closing cost. Plus, you have to do some escrows, so you're probably looking a total of about 10,000 out of pocket. I mean, this is right off the top of my head, so obviously we would work out the numbers and get you more exact figures, but that's in the ballpark.
Boy, that's incredible, though. If you think about not having to put down anything and just pay the closing costs, that would be great.
Yeah, and this particular borrower, he is a disabled veteran, 100% disabled, great veteran, and well deserved. He doesn't have to pay the VA funding fee. And that VA funding fee could be as high as like 3.3% of the purchase price. So, well, it's actually considered 3.3% of the loan amount, but if you're doing 100% financing, they're both one and the same. So, yeah, so that could be a real pricey endeavor. He's exempt from paying that. So it's a great way to finance a property, especially if you're VA disabled.
Wow, I never heard of that before. But that's great news. Great news for the vets.
Oh yeah, the vets have some really good. Like I said, that one I closed on, he only had to come to closing with $24 total. Period. Not
Yeah.
10,000, $24.
Yeah, if you get a cooperating seller on a VA loan, the veteran doesn't have to put any money down payment on it. You can ask the seller to pay your closing costs. So literally, you can get in, if you have all your numbers correct, you can get in with zero out of pocket. And if you're a veteran, that's a great benefit, and you should be using that. And the interest rate on it is great, much more competitive than a conventional loan. There's no mortgage insurance. Like I said, they do charge a pretty hefty funding fee, but that's financed into the loan. So if you're doing 100% financing and you've never used your VA benefits before, you can do up to 102, 103% financing on a transaction. So it's great.
Yeah, my dad used to get VA loans. Also, my dad was a veteran, so he used to buy his properties that way. So that was always lovely. But if our number is 772-340-1590, please call in if you have any questions. If you have any questions about anything, we work with people that do wills, trust. We have real estate attorneys. We have insurance people that can help you out. Just give us a call and we can guide you in the right direction. Mike and I can do it for you. But the number you can call now if you want to talk to any of us is 772-340-1590. And we'd be real excited to answer any questions that you might have at this time. But I want to say out there, if you're thinking about selling your home, please give me a call. I have the buyers are out there. We're ready to move forward. You can get a good value on your home before the prices do readjust, and they might start going down. So you're still at the peak, and it's a great time to put it on the market. It really is. If you're thinking about relocating or maybe buying something else at this time because the home doesn't fit your needs anymore. Please call.
Are the loan prices any different as far as loan rates from county to county? Do they vary at all or no? Or
Well,
it's like national numbers?
Well, the interest rates really don't vary. You could get a little bit of variation from state to state, more, not so much state to state, but more region to region. Um, they do have a little bit of fluctuation that way, but as far as the loan amounts, like a lot of people don't realize this, but there are loan limits in different counties and there are different limits for different types of loans. For example, if you're getting an FHA loan on the Treasure Coast, in general, the single family loan limit is $381,800. If you're getting a conforming loan or a conventional loan, the loan limit is $548,250. So, and VA kind of mimics the conventional loan limits, and VA also does jumbo too. You can do 100% jumbo loan on a VA, which is absolutely a fabulous deal. And that will vary from county to county. For example, down in the Keys, that number is significantly higher because the average home price is a lot higher in the Keys. There's other isolated pockets too in Florida, like that Naples area. They have higher loan limits there. But in general, that's where the cutoffs are. Now, if you go above those loan limits, now you're in what's called a jumbo loan category. And the jumbo loan category is where those loans are not guaranteed by the federal government, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or FHA. They're individual investors, mostly hedge funds for the most part. Hedge funds will go out there and they'll do securitizations of different types of jumbo products. And also products that don't fit into the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conventional guidelines. So they'll come out and they'll do their own securitization, write their own rules for that. So yeah, there are some fluctuations from county to county, but in general, all the guidelines and underwriting requirements are basically the same nationwide.
So could I get a jumbo loan on that huge home and at the head of Jensen Beach Boulevard as you
No, I know you don't qualify.
Greg qualifies for anything he wants. Right?
No, I don't think so. But what is that house worth? That thing is mammoth.
Yeah.
We went to a charity function there once. It was huge.
Yeah, like how many square feet is it?
Oh, I don't know.
You're talking about the Eustis property on the beach?
I don't know who owns it, but yeah, it's mammoth. They had a big.
Yeah, it's about 40,000 square feet.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm gonna tell you a story about what I heard yesterday. There's a gentleman that was in Fort Lauderdale, and he's building a house on the water and on the river side, and he got one of the biggest lots, and that's what he does. He's from Virginia, and he was going to put it on the market for 11 million.
Oh.
So he said, you know what? I'm going to put it on the market for 17 million. Sold in one day.
No, come on.
Yes, went under contract immediately. $17 million. Oh. Brand new house on the river, large home, very large. And it's a larger lot. So what does that mean? That means, you really need to be able to afford it because of your taxes and insurance.
Well, he might want to. Well, I'm sure he's done. That person of that caliber has done the research.
Absolutely.
But there's some serious talk about increasing the capital gains, and not only that, but if it passes, they're talking about making it retroactive. And they're saying that capital gains tax over $1 million could be as high as 40% and be retroactive back till April 1st. So if that happens, that could be a serious expense for that individual.
Yeah, that could. So I don't know, and I'm checking into it about the capital gains where somebody said that somebody was working on that they were putting their properties into a trust and then selling it in the trust without having to pay the capital gains on it. So I don't know. I don't know the actual details, but I'm going to start talking to somebody to see, how they're trying to get around this right now.
Well,
Time to get that real estate lawyer back on. Oh my goodness.
No, we are. I mean, and I'm going to start talking to people that work with this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be meeting up with one of the real estate attorneys on the 29th of this month, because we really need to start talking about these little things like this that might work better for people. And just like they say, it's not like you're trying to do anything illegal, but if the system allows it, then why not do it and do it the proper way?
I've actually had 2 transactions that fell apart. I do a lot of financing for it. He's an investor. He owns about 150 rental properties, and he's trying to slowly unload them. So he sold about 10 of them up to date for this year. And then what happened was he had 2 transactions that I was working on the financing for, and they ended up pulling the plug on that because of this announcement of the capital gains.
Really?
Yeah, he's already exceeded his $1 million threshold for the year. So he just pulled the plug on the 2 transactions that were actually under contract, and just decided not to sell them because, if you're going to sell a property and you have to write a check for 40% of the profits to the federal government, that's a little less attractive.
So, but would he be better off maybe just holding the paper on it? I know you want to do the loans on it, but would he be better off?
Capital gains because you had already sold the property. You redeemed the property, so it's considered a sale. And there are products out there, a 1031 exchange. However, the problem is that this person is done with real estate and he just wants to take the cash and kind of cruise through the rest of his life. So he's not really interested in reinvesting this money into other real estate.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And look at these people, Mike. Let's give our number one more time. It's 772-340-1590. That's 340-1590. Call in if you have any questions.
Yeah, I got a question on that. Is this capital gains thing going to affect the higher income real estate market that would be on Hutchinson Island or Jupiter?
I would say yes. Don't you think so, Mike?
Yeah, because a lot of those properties are over and above the exemption. Because I believe that the exemption for a owner-occupied property, your primary residence, is in the 600,000 range. So if you're selling a property for, like you're saying, Victoria, for 17 million, that's certainly above that. You'd have to pay capital gains on that either way. But long-term capital gains right now is low. I mean, what is it, 15%?
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about selling, I mean, now might be the opportunity to do it, because once they raise that capital gains tax, that is going to be a killer. Now, the problem is that there's talk of this capital gains tax being retroactive back until April when President Biden announced it. So I don't believe that they can make it retroactive before he announced it. So, but you're talking about the IRS who could basically do anything they want.
Which is not fair either.
Yeah, it's not fair. And the one big thing I'm having concerns about with the current administration is, like this the holiday that just passed overwhelmingly by both sides, by the way, Juneteenth, and I have no objection to that. But the way they did that was so much of a problem, especially for our industry, the mortgage industry. We got noticed on Thursday that there's a new federal holiday on Saturday. Now, a lot of our restrictions on closings are date sensitive. We have to get a closing disclosure to the customer 3 days prior to the closing. That's a federal law. There's no way around that. And federal holidays don't count in that 3 days. So if you had a closing that was scheduled on Monday and your holiday was just thrown in there on a Saturday, you have moving trucks coming to move you from one house to the other, all of a sudden your loan is postponed from closing, and that's a big problem. Again, I don't have a problem with the holiday, but the way they enacted it was very irresponsible, in my opinion.
I agree. They're just doing whatever they want to, whenever they want to.
Yeah, it's kind of like ready, shoot, aim with this administration, and they
Yeah,
don't
don't
know.
even use those words because ready, shoot, aim is everything that's happening. And I just saw another shooting that they had yesterday
Yeah,
in Jupiter Farms. I mean, the guns are like everywhere. Everybody's like just shooting at people.
well, it's interesting because I did see an episode or an article today about all the violence on airplanes, mostly to do with the masks. And it's interesting that a lot of this anger is now acceptable. It's all become acceptable in the last year. And I think it stems a lot from the riots. Um, there were no consequences for people who rioted, so I think that has been introduced into everyday life. Um,
Yes, absolutely.
you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. And things have to change. So because it is getting out of hand right now for people. So it's hard. I mean, just renewing my driver's license. When did you ever think that you had to go? And thank God I was prepared, because as soon as I got up there, like I said, she says, well, do you have your marriage license? I said, oh yeah, here it is. Do you have your birth certificate? Yes. Oh, we can't accept that one because that was the one at birth with my little foot on it and everything. So I said, oh, how about this one? She goes, okay. I mean, she was kind of shocked that I had everything she asked for.
Huh.
But,
No,
but
I
that's
don't, I
because
don't
I had heard from other people's experiences. That's why.
Yeah, I just got, well, I guess this might be something fairly new, but I just redid my driver's license about 2 years ago. I don't recall going through all that.
Well, that was 2 years ago, though. See, everything is changing.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. We're gonna renew our passports, so
Oh,
hope
good luck with that.
I hope it's not as elaborate. Well, it was kind of cool. Carol hit the web. They in St. Lucie County, you can take your pick of where you want to go, whether it's the courthouse in downtown Fort Pierce or St. Lucie West, which we picked St. Lucie West, and we got an appointment right away for July, and we're all set to go. But I mean, yeah, I didn't realize it was that elaborate just to renew a driver's license.
Yeah, but you better take a lot of documentation with you, just in case they start asking for it. If they ask for they ask for Social Security card.
Oh yeah,
I did bring my passport with me. They did ask for my birth certificate. They did ask, like I said, for the marriage license. I said to her, I got married right here, in 1987. I mean, I got my license in 1977. I mean, this is just amazing that they don't know these things.
And it's very interesting because it is discriminatory, I think, against women, because if all of a sudden you're recently married, and in theory you have to go change your driver's license and all the other stuff, and registration for the cars, but all of a sudden they ding you for having to renew your driver's license under the new name. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, I know one time somebody stole my sticker off the car, where you get the new sticker for your registration.
Yes,
and they always tell you to take a razor and make like an X in it, that if they try to take it, it unpeels itself. So whenever you put it on, make an X on it with a knife or with a razor on the renewal.
I never knew that, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, because they will come and unpeel it and put it on their car. Do you know that I had to pay for the new one? I didn't get anything free.
Oh,
so
I'm sure.
You did have to pay for that. So just to renew 2 cars and get my driver's license cost me almost $200.
Oh yeah. It's and when we were traveling with IRSC, TSA lost my driver's license. So it was a real problem to get back. And then of course I went to renew, and it was fine. But you are right about the long lines, and even if you do have an appointment, it's still a long wait. But yeah, but I didn't have to go through all that ID stuff.
Well, I've never had to before either. And like I said, I came here in 1977 and never had to. And every year they renewed it online last time. I didn't even have to go in. but now they're not doing that anymore.
Wow.
So it's an 8-year. So who knows in 8 years what's going to happen, where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
But you know what I did love? I love listening to all the stories while I was standing there getting mine, because I was there a good hour just standing there while she's trying to renew 2 car tags and my license, and the stories. And one person over on the left of me said, that's discrimination. So I don't know what he was upset about, but he had his mother or mother-in-law there. They couldn't speak good English. And he says, you're discriminating. And so she said, let me get a supervisor. So
Well, that's
she
a
had to go get
buzzword. Everything is a discrimination.
Yeah, that's all I heard is you're discriminating. And I was like, oh gosh. But you know what? She got her driver's license after she kept screaming. So they did, the supervisor came, looked at some documentation. I guess they weren't happy with it. But the supervisor let it go because that's all you heard. And then I saw another guy and he says, it shows on his license that he has to wear glasses when he drives. And the guy looked like he was probably in his 70s. And he says, well, can you read this? Do you read the 5th line, from right to left and from left to right? And he read it perfectly. He says, well, I'm taking that off your driver's license. You're not restricted that you have to wear glasses. You read it perfect. Why would you have to be restricted? So it was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because they told me to take my glasses off. I always wear my glasses, but I could read down a little bit. And they said, oh, just take your glasses off. And, when they took the new picture, it doesn't have my glasses on. So yeah, it's strange, but
It is. Well, what I did is, there is online, you can go online and there is a form and you take it to your eye doctor and they do your eye exam. And if you pass it, then you don't have to do the eye exam there while you're there. There is a form online.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, there is a form online that you have to go to your doctor. And that's what I brought in because I had gone to my eye doctor and she did the exam. She dilated me. She did everything, scanned my eyes. She did the whole 9 yards. And then I turned it in.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
a lot of things you don't know about because it's kind of interesting. On one side, they were training a new group of people that were going to be working there. And the questions, you could hear them taking their tests because she was talking out loud to them. So there's so many circumstances and so many things we don't even understand that's going on, that people are trading in a car, or they're coming from another state, or they had a trailer. There are so many scenarios. And that was somebody that worked there for years. And when she was given the test, and some of the people that were taking the test got a couple of them wrong, she says, don't worry, I've never even heard of that before. But, it still is a situation that, that we do get. And interesting enough, I get calls every day as we've been talking about rentals. And I got a call from a young lady today that's coming from Miami. And I told her the rental that I had was no longer available. And I gave her a number to check on some other ones. And she says, well, I got a question for you. How am I going to get a rental? Every time they do a background check, I'm not passing. I don't have a good background, but my boyfriend does. And I said, well, I can't change that because they always do a background check and a credit report, unless you go and try to find a homeowner that's not requiring it. But if you're going through any of these institutes, they require that. And go to find out, as we were talking, she has a pass, she's gotten arrested. And I said, well, if the circumstance is going to depend on maybe what you got arrested for or how long ago. And I guess it was for drugs. But, she was like really frustrated with me, which is the wrong person to be frustrated with, but just frustrated in general because they can't find a place to live. And, it's that old saying, what did our parents say to us? What we do today is going to follow us, when we become an adult.
Yep.
What's bizarre though is we talked about this on a previous show. It's actually harder to get a rental right now than it is to get a mortgage, because on a mortgage, we do obviously some background searches, but basically it's credit related. We have to verify your income. We have to verify that you pay your bills on time. That goes to reason. But we don't do any background searches to see if you've ever been in prison or anything. So, I had a borrower who had a credit score that was under 700. He couldn't find a decent rental anywhere. If you have, a credit score that's in the sixes, yeah, I could most likely get you a mortgage if you meet all the other criteria. So, in many cases, it's easier to buy a house than it is to rent a house.
And I tell people that all the time, Mike. That's, as you know, I tell people to come to you to get pre-qualified just to see. And some of the situations that we're running into, though, is cash to close, because that's the other thing is that they need to have a certain amount of money. And the other thing is the people that need to go FHA, we're having which I still think is a form of discrimination and I don't know who I would talk to about that. I'm going to ask the real estate attorney and maybe call the board of realtors, that all these agents are, saying that they're not going to take FHA on these properties, which,
Yeah.
they qualify for FHA and the people do also, but they're not accepting it.
Well, that's because there's a lot of misconceptions on FHA types of financing. I mean, a lot of realtors out there think it's some kind of subpar um, loan program. So it is, it is correct that FHA is more lenient on credit. It's more lenient on the debt ratio. It's far easier to get qualified on an FHA loan than it is a conventional loan. So in that regard, I believe that there's a misconception that people who are getting FHA loans are somewhat substandard for financing. But on the contrary, we don't have half the problems we have qualifying a FHA borrower. If you're a fairly well qualified borrower and you apply for an FHA loan, you're going to get an interest rate that's far lower than a conventional loan. That FHA loan is backed by the federal government. That interest rate could be a 0.5% lower than a conventional if you're pretty well qualified. So there are certainly benefits to that, and it's easier to qualify. So you don't run into a lot of the problems like with debt ratios and credit score issues. However, there are some pitfalls with FHA financing. When we appraise a property, that appraisal sticks with that property. Even so, if the appraisal comes in low and the deal falls apart, that valuation is stuck with that property, so that seller cannot take on another FHA borrower because that appraisal would be a hindrance. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I think you're right. I think it's unfair to to restrict your financing from FHA.
Well, the
Right.
FHA loans have been around. Well, my parents, I think, had one. My dad had the original VA in San Diego, but when we moved to LA, I think it was an FHA loan, and that was early 50s.
Greg, there's nothing wrong with FHA at all. I don't know why these agents are doing what they're doing, because any of my listings, I'll accept FHA without a problem.
And there's one huge advantage on FHA financing. If you're going to get an FHA loan, and let's say you qualify for a great interest rate like 2.5%, that FHA loan is assumable. So you keep that house down the road, you sell it maybe 8 years, 9 years down the road. Maybe the interest rates are 10% at that point. Who knows what the heck they're going to be? But someone can assume that FHA loan and take over that low interest rate that you got today. So yeah, there's some big benefits to it. I don't know if you'd ever use that benefit on FHA, but it is a great way to market your property.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. But yeah, I'm amazed that it's turned into what it has as far as perception, I guess. And as we know now, especially now, the perception is rapidly becoming reality. I don't know. We just have a couple minutes left, guys. How do we get in touch with you?
Go ahead, Mike.
If you're interested in getting a mortgage or just getting pre-qualified, we do construction loans. We do FHA financing. We do VA financing, conventional financing, renovation types of loans. My name is Mike Pollis. I'm with East Coast Mortgage Lenders. My phone number is 772-285-0315, 772-285-0315. I am with East Coast Mortgage Lenders. I have to mention our NMLS number. That number is 353-429. That's 353-429. And I welcome your call.
Hi, and this is Victoria Loyd with Remax and Stewart. And I've been servicing this area for many, many years. And I know it like the back of my hand. So if you need a good agent that can sell your home, list your home. You can buy a property from me. I do commercial, I do residential. There's not any aspect of real estate I don't do. Vacant land. Just call me at area code 772-201-8740. That's 772 area code 201-8740. And as I say, I'm on it like a hip pocket. I'm there for you.
Hey, Victoria, do you deal with new construction as well? Are you set up with builders that you can show people lots and you can?
Yeah, I'm doing one right now with a gentleman named Richard, and he's phenomenal. Matter of fact, he's great. And I've got one under construction out in Tradition right now also. So yes, I do work with builders also.
All right. Well, hey, we have done it again. And this is Team Victoria and Mike. Carrying
Thank
on
you.
a tradition for 20 years.
Bye-bye.
This is WPSL, Fort St. Lucie, WPSL.com, webcaster to the world.